Route 66 starts Chicago. It was in the park.
That was a great fountain.
By the side of the road, just over the hill, that's where the fun begins, and where time stands still. Lay down your cares, lighten up your load. Hey, there's a ton of fun waiting by the side of the road. Let's go to Grant Park, Funk's Grove, the Dixie Trucker Stop, the Pig Hip Soulsby Service Station, Chain of Rocks. We'll get a Drew's Frozen Custard, then we'll stop at Merrimack, onto the Coral Court, the Steak and Shake, and Henry's Rabbit Ranch by the side of the road, just over the hill. That's where the fun begins, and where time stands still. Lay down your cares, lighten up your load. Hey, there's a ton of fun waiting by the side of the road.
Our first stop was
Chicago. The thing we liked about it was the bean.
the Bean. The Bean was a fun thing.
We'll get a big boy burger, try the Wagon Wheel Motel, see the Coleman in Miami and the Big Blue Whale, onto the Round Barn, the Conoco, into the Dewdrop Inn. Check out the Cadillac Ranch, eat at the Big Texan Inn by the side of the road, just over the hill. That's where the fun begins, and where time stands still. Lay down your cares, lighten up your load. Hey, there's a ton of fun waiting by the side of the road.
Chicago's famous bean sculpture is the start of the famous Route 66 road.
Sleep at the Old Blue Swallow down the Will Rogers Road. See the Santa Fe line, dine at the El Rancho. We'll make the Wigwam, Jackrabbit, Twin Arrows to go from the Grand Canyon Caverns to the sunny ocean view by the side of the road. Up around the bend, you can get your kicks, you can find a friend. Lay down your cares, lighten up your load. Hey, there's a party congregating by the side of the road.
Yeah, a lot of people go there and they take pictures of themselves reflected in the bean.
Lay down your cares, lighten up your load. There's a ton of fun waiting by the side of the road.
Start in Chicago, and we had a lot of fun in Chicago.
Then we had our pizza. Remember, we went and had a Chicago pizza.
Yes, we did.
They had the river, they had the boat.
Yep.
Yeah, and there
So
was
our
a
very first stop was Del Rey's.
That's
remember?
right, the chicken place. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
was very interesting.
He's a very nice guy.
That was a place that did the roller ice skating rink on
Ice skating
top.
on the roof.
Yeah,
It's a little bit off the beaten trail, though, like a lot of Route 66 is.
Yes.
It's off the beaten trail.
but these little restaurants that you know have been there for so long,
Oh, yeah.
and they're very good.
We're standing outside of Del Rey's Chicken Basket talking to Pat. Pat's the owner of this establishment. This is one of the oldest establishments you'll find on Route 66 as you exit Chicago.
My family bought the restaurant in 1963. The restaurant had been here since 46. That's when this building opened. And prior to 1946, it was in an old gas station just down the street a little bit. So we've been here close to 85 years. The restaurant that you see behind us, the Carrie Piper, used to be my father's restaurant back in the 40s. It was called the Woodbite. Route 66 closed sometime between 60 and 62. The old owner, Mr. Caleric, used to do things like hire ice skaters to put up on the roof that would draw people in off the highway. So they'd have lights shining down on the roof, they'd flood the flat roof, and he'd hire people to go up there and skate to attract people.
Oh, so it was people actually didn't come here and skate; they just came to watch the.
Exactly, they came to watch the professionals do it. Well, this dining room is the original main dining room. The wall that you see in front of you right now with Route 66 signs is just a little highlight of, let people know that have no idea what Route 66 is, who we are, what they're experiencing.
After we left Chicago, it started getting better.
Yes.
Because
Yes, it did.
people outside of Chicago,
We're very interested in us.
yes, they wanted to talk to us. They wanted to tell people out there all about Route 66.
Hello. Right now we're in Joliet. Is that how you say Joliet?
It's Joliet, and we're proud to be here.
And Joliet, we're in a museum. What is the name of this?
Well, we're actually in the Joliet Area Historical Museum, but we're in the part that we call the Route 66 Experience. Well, we're making our way through the Route 66 Experience, and we've set up shop in the mock drive-in, of all things. People can sit in these realistic car couches, like the back of a 57 Chevy, and check out all the different great attractions in Joliet, as well as throughout Illinois on Route 66. And take charge and watch all the scenery on the murals and the interactive little car that travels Route 66 up here. As you're cozied up on these car couches in our mock drive-in, you can check out, we had costume characters come in and do a virtual tour of all the different elements that show you how many ways you can touch and interact with the exhibit. It's our little mock drive-in diner. You can place your order for a cheeseburger or a hot dog or whatever your appetite desires. I don't think she'll be serving anybody anytime soon, but when you check out our car here, people are welcome to come in and press the different buttons of the car to take a sound bite from those different decades. Over there is another key element of the Route 66 experience. It's our free photo booth. You can take your picture in the set of on the stage of the Rialto Square Theater, in a Collins Street prison, or one of the Route 66 murals you see here, and email it to yourself or a friend about your travels along Route 66. Our last stop, if you're getting a little tired, if you traveled the whole experience, is our mock Route 66 hotel room. If you sit down on the bed, you can dial up on the phone, not room service, but actually episodes of the Route 66 television series featuring Buzz and Todd.
We're at the Route 66 Experience with John Weiss. John Weiss is a noted author of many books about Route 66. And he's going to tell us a little story about this gasoline pump. What can you say, John?
Well, of course, Route 66 is the road culture. And when it first started, they have to have a way of furnishing the gasoline or the petroleum that was needed. In the beginning, they just poured it out of buckets. But then somebody came up with a way of dispensing it. Most people don't realize how this works. This is not electrified. Here's how it works. It's called a visual or a gravity flow pump. Now, the way it works, over on the side over here, we have a handle. And back over here. The handle pumps. You can't see it from over there, but there's a handle that pumps back and forth, back and forth. And what happens is that the gas fills up into this visual tank. Now, when people came in to buy gas, the attendant, of course, would wait on them. They wouldn't say how many dollars of gas you wanted, how many gallons of gas. Let's just say you came in and want to buy 5 gallons worth of gas.
Right.
This is filled up now, and it starts at 0 and goes down.
Oh, I see.
So then you would take the hose and you would drain. That's all you're really doing is draining 5 gallons out. It would go to the 5 bar. You just got 5 gallons worth of gas.
Beautiful.
And then the next car that would pull in, they'd get the handle, they'd pump it back up again and fill it back up again. And so it was a very simple mechanism. However, at the end of the day, there was always gas left over. And somebody could come in and take that gas. So they would simply drain it into this here, and it would go back into the tanks.
Ah, I see.
And then they'd put a lock on it, and it's ready for the next day.
Okay, John, we're standing in front of this.
It's called an economy car. It's the only one in existence, and it was made here in Joliet. But in the era, the days of this type of car, there weren't any real rules of the road as we know them today. People would be shocked by it. As a matter of fact, the roads were only like 16 feet wide. You'd ride in the middle. And so when you met somebody, then you'd have to pass them up. And most roads weren't even paved. So they were developing rules of the road. It was okay to pass on hills and curves as long as you did it courteously. Now, how you pass on a hill or curve courteously, I don't know. But that's what the rules of the road said. But they did find that to be dangerous. So in Glen Arm, Illinois, just on the south of Springfield, you'll be going past there. There's a big hill. And on the top of that hill, what they tried, an experiment, they put up a big mirror. Now the idea was that somebody coming up the hill could see cars coming from the other side of the hill, and they would know if it was safe to pass. There was only one problem. Everybody was driving along in cars like this, looking up at the mirror, head-on collisions on the top of the hill.
That museum is very interesting, don't you think?
Oh yeah, they had the Blues Brothers in it.
Yeah, they did, because the prison that's in the neighborhood filmed the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
And how about those murals in town?
Oh, they're beautiful. It's a must-see on Route 66.
And including this mural that you're seeing now in the show is one that's painted inside the museum.
That's right, that's right.
And they've got their exhibits, which you saw. You would sit down, you could pretend you're at a movie.
Or that TV.
That old television, yeah, which I played around a little with the show.
Yeah. It was a fun day. It was really nice in the museum.
Like right behind us, you can enter our historical museum and enter through a life-size canal and then take a trip through the history of Joliet. It's a minimal fee and it's an awesome experience. This right here behind us is a sculpture that's actually made of Joliet limestone on the bottom. And it symbolizes the lift bridges, which when you come to Joliet, you gotta love our bridges. We have 4 of the 5 different kinds of lift bridges over the Des Plaines River throughout Joliet. And so this demonstrates just one of those.
Oh, I see.
So when you drive by, you will notice the Route 66 insignias and signs directing you to Joliet Kicks on Route 66 for the Welcome Center. But the actual historical museum is in the old Methodist Church on the corner of Cass and Ottawa Streets.
Oh.
Well, we're entering the historical museum. First, you'll sit in this gallery area and you'll actually watch a video of all the history, kind of a flash montage of Joliet history. The doors will open and it'll reveal this life-size canal, because Joliet is actually the city of steel and stone. And we get that from the Des Plaines River, or the I&M Canal. But people actually, like these models up here, and yes, they're models, although they look realistic, worked on the canal with mules and gathered limestone to build many of our historic buildings throughout our town. Like I said, Joliet was the city of steel and stone, and steel, well, nothing says more steel than the railroads. So if you look above, then we'll see one of our railroad workers is pining away. Well, we continue through the historical museum with an exhibit on lifestyle at home. This is particularly depicting a parlor and a kitchen over here behind you to a typical Joliet Victorian family. Now, Vince, he said all aboard, so we better step up. It's the Joliet Trolley, and it's going to take us on a tour through historic Joliet. You get in this pretty much life-size trolley right here in the center of the Joliet Area Historical Museum. Sit down for a ride on an interactive TV screen that'll actually have all the bells and whistles and narration of the history of Joliet. We've got the old historic street in Joliet, complete with the Rialto Square Theater marquee sign, and we're going to go check them out a little bit later. But picture shows that used to be shown there are all the fancy dresses and clothes in the downtown shops, and we continue to see all the different offices, buildings, and shops throughout Joliet that would have been back then. Well, we've headed upstairs in the museum, and as you can see, we're kind of a little more of a time warp. We're heading into the 50s, and all the different artifacts and events that happened in Joliet at that time. For instance, Joliet was named an All-American City, so you can read about the campaign and the key people that were part of that process. But these actually are documenting some of the new businesses that came to Joliet along Jefferson Street, the independent living structures, and the actual first mall that came to Joliet, Louis Joliet Mall. This actually documents where we are right now, with 2 great casinos, both Harrah's and Empress. Harrah's is actually located just seconds from here. Well, we've exited the museum, we've had a great time, and we encourage everybody to come back. We're on the corner here with one of our murals and mosaics, which you'll find sprinkled throughout the entire city of Joliet by our Friends of Community Public Art. This specific one is actually devoted to Route 66, and you'll notice within it all kinds of Route 66 icons, shields, and information. Now we're going to head down through downtown Joliet, lots of great restaurants and cool attractions, and end up at the historic Rialto Square Theater, which actually today, of all days, over 30 years, they have not lowered the large chandelier in the center of the Rialto. We're going to get to meet the Duchess today.
Absolutely. Remember when we were in that theater, they had the walls all full of all the signatures?
That's right.
It's probably the oldest theater on Route 66,
It's
isn't it,
the
John?
oldest operating theater, continuously operating. There's some a couple a little bit older, but they've been closed down for years and they remodel them. This is continuously operating. It actually opened on May 24th, 1926. Route 66 began right in front of here on November 11th, 1926. So it's actually a little bit older than Route 66 in itself.
What was the alignment after this one in front of the Rialto?
After this, they had to move it over a little bit, so they went to Ottawa Street where the museum is at. And then they had to move it again, so Ottawa Street is 66 and Scott Street, which is over there on the other side. So all three are legitimate Route 66 alignments. Eventually, though, that Route 66 became so popular, along with the Joliet Arsenal and the business district here, that they had to divert it around Joliet. So Route 66 began here. But then they moved it around, and then they changed it to 66A, or alternate, because it was so congested. They had to bring the people around it in the years.
So what was the final alignment? The last one?
It keeps changing. It still keeps changing because it's historic 66 now. And so now we have areas we call spurs. You're going to see that. And that's a little piece of alignment. We've got abandoned pieces of alignment. It's just all over the place. We've taken the routings that have the most amount of attractions on it.
Yes.
And that's what we promote. That's where your signage is going to be, where we want to direct the people. There may be other alignments, but we can just get people confused that way, and there isn't necessarily something worthwhile to see. So our signage brings you to the most active areas.
How are you doing?
That's wife, Holly.
Holly.
Hello. Come on in.
We're now in the Rialto Theater in Joliet, and this is Randy. Randy is in charge of this magnificent structure.
Well, the beauty of this theater is it's marvelous architecture, which I describe as probably the idea the architect had in the 1920s was to take every great architectural feature in the world and put them in one place. So the location that we're in right now, which is called the Esplanade, was designed after the Palace of Versailles, the Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles. As you go down the Esplanade, you enter into the Arch area, which was designed after the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and takes you into the Rotunda, which then is designed after the Parthenon, with the distinct columns that are holding up the rotunda and surrounding the rotunda, and it does kind of give you a great look of European style and architecture. And as you see down the way, we are working on what has been called one of the great chandeliers in the world. Its name is the Duchess. It's known, I think, as the 7th largest chandelier. Well, at the point where the Esplanade intersects the rotunda, or the two grand staircases that will take patrons to the balcony level of the theater, and it surrounds the rotunda. And of course, when you think of theater, you certainly think of live entertainment, but this is a popular destination for people who are looking for a unique location for weddings. A lot of great talent comes to this stage, and if you go back to the early days of the Rialto, the era of vaudeville, so you had the great entertainers in the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello.
I noticed a lot of graffiti in this room. Is that any meaning to it?
Well, some people might consider it graffiti. I think it's one of the traditions of theaters that they have walls that the artists sign as sort of their legacy, and they leave. They've left something else behind besides a memory. And certainly over the years, there's been a lot of people through the doors of the Rialto who have left their mark here. So there's no way of knowing how many names are on these walls, and these walls continue from the loading doors when you walk in, down through the dressing rooms, down to the green room.
Well, we're at a historic location here in Joliet, what we call the crossroads of Mid-America. This right here is Chicago Street, but it's actually the first Route 66 that ran through Joliet. And over here is Cass Street, but also known as Route 30 and Lincoln Highway, hence the crossroads of Mid-America. This gas pump is just one of 5 historic stop Route 66 gas pumps throughout Joliet. And just outside the historic Rialto Square Theater in downtown Joliet, we have a number of great restaurants and shops, all thriving and ready for your business. But just behind me is G's Sweet Shop, with the best cheesy popcorn you've ever had, as well as all kinds of ice creams and sweets and penny candies. But all along Chicago Street and throughout downtown Joliet, there's a number of great restaurants and shops. Okay, so we're still walking down Route 66 in the center of downtown Joliet, and look who we run into but the Marx Brothers, because we're in the center of our entertainment district. You can see the Rialto Marquee. There's not a show today yet, so it wouldn't be lit up. But on the nights when there's a top name act there, all the lights are a glitter. Now, if you notice behind us, there's just a few of the murals that, like I said earlier at the museum, are throughout the city of Joliet. They are by the Friends of Community Public Art, and they're really kind of a blanket that wraps our community in our heritage. The ones behind us specifically are detailing the Irish heritage and some of our other community symbols.
Joliet also had a prison.
That's
where
right.
the prisoners, didn't they have to make that limestone?
This historic building in Joliet was built in the 1820s and is by limestone quarried just across the street. The building was built by prisoners of the Alton State Penitentiary to then relieve the overflow of prisoners on that facility. Believe it or not, at the time of this prison's construction, right where we're standing was a lily pond and a greenhouse. And visitors actually came once upon a time to visit the prison and pay 25 cents for a tour.
No, that was distinctive about that prison was that they filmed the movie.
Oh yeah, but
What's the movie called again?
Blues Brothers.
The Blues Brothers.
The Blues Brothers.
That's what was done.
They filmed it.
That's right.
But they also made the stone in you can tell.
The prison was made out of the stone.
Some kind of special stone.
That's very famous for that area.
But they're famous for the Blues Brothers, so you know.
Well, Holly, what's coming up in the next episode?
Well, we got Mard in Williamton.
And we saw polka dots in Graywood.
And we discovered the Standard in Odell.
Yes, we did. And Pontiac was just as I pictured it.